We are looking at the focus cryptocurrency market, which is evidently shown to be lucrative and viable, recording an increase of about 1,200% in Nigeria and some selected African countries. A recent report shows that the African region has one of the highest grassroots adoption in the world, with Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, as well as Tanzania ranking in the top 20 of its global crypto adoption index. On this backdrop, the Nigerian government, despite placing a ban on the use of cryptocurrencies in February this year, recently launched its own digital currency, the eNaira, which has had well over 500,000 downloads in about 3 weeks. The eNaira has been used for about 62 million Naira transactions worth, with 78,000 merchants from 160 countries having signed up for the merchant wallet. Let's now join our analyst to speak on these figures and the performance of the eNaira crypto assets and a whole lot more. I have with me cryptocurrency expert and also business manager at the Wealth Hackers, Benga Unifade, who joins us virtually. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today, Benga.
Good afternoon, David.
Now, let's start off with the overall trend and pattern of we are seeing in terms of the global cryptocurrency market now. Bitcoin, irrespective of the recent decline, has hit fresh all-time highs, now traded well over $60,000. Likewise, we've also seen a growing momentum with Ether. This is the one linked to Ethereum, also having well over $4,000 worth. What are your thoughts on the market performance for this year and how things have played out so far, the intricacies?
Well, I mean, Bitcoin is actually, unfortunately, has underperformed this year among all the years. So, we expect Bitcoin to do way more than where it is right now, and likewise Ethereum. But this tells you this is the shape of things to come. Especially with the way cryptocurrency is going, and the adoption. Algorithmically, it is actually designed to keep going up. And what's the essence of Bitcoin? Bitcoin is designed to replace gold. If you think about it, when Bitcoin was created about 2010 in the white paper by the Satoshi Nakamoto, and it was designed in such a way that to replace gold, we have 21 million assets created. And if you think about how much gold do we have, gold is so abundant, okay? You could literally dig the ground and you find that piece of metal and straight away you convert it to money. Compared to this one here, this is actually inflation, it's adverse to inflation, if you can say that. So the more the adoption goes on, and then expect it to keep going higher. So right now it's still very, very in its early stages, and likewise Ethereum and many other cryptocurrencies.
And then talking about the many other cryptocurrencies we have as well, what sort of performance do you also see us having in terms of the year 2022? We are gradually wrapping up this year, going by the pattern we've seen so far this year. Which other crypto assets do you see taking center stage? We saw Dogecoin start off a little bit with some momentum, but it isn't necessarily manifesting strongly as we are ending up the year. Your thoughts?
So we have about 14,000 cryptocurrencies. I mean, the first thing I'm going to ask you is how much time have you got? Okay, we are talking different coins every day, hitting multiple hundred percentages on a daily basis. Dogecoin, yes, like you said, it did actually hit the center stage. Just few weeks ago, there was another one which is, I think it's called Shiba, that hit a multiple. It did hit 30 billion in market cap, and I'm talking about going about 10,000% in 1 month, in one single month. And this is where people are looking at. Everybody's looking to create wealth for themselves. What is the essence of you working all year round, in order to save something, and at the end of the year, your retirement, it is all devalued? So this is a new asset, okay? It's grasping people's attention. People are realizing, and they're beginning to get more use cases. And so they call them the altcoins, alternative coins. So we do have the Bitcoin, which has got, this is meant to be the digital gold, now replacing the gold or replacing value, as a sport of value. And then we do have these alternative currencies, and they do have what they call use cases or utilities. And of course, and this is where Dogecoin falls in. It's an altcoin, but it's an altcoin without any real use case. They call it a meme coin. It's just a joke. But at some point, the world wealthiest man, he put it on the forefront on Twitter. He just sent a tweet about it, and everybody just jumps on it. And the same thing has happened now. So, like I said again, how much time have you got? But we've got multiple coins hitting multiple 100% on a daily basis. Yes, it does actually have the volatility, but that's where the fun is for the people. Okay, so if you do not bet if you don't bet the farm on it, you could make a wealth of money. But at the same time, if you go with the ones that do have real world use case, you could absolutely take your family away from poverty and into wealth.
But in terms of market capitalization now, Benga, I would like you to just give us some insight in terms of those we ought to look out for that would likely really shape the year 2022, just like we've seen this year.
Yeah, so we started off Bitcoin this year at just about over 1.5 trillion market cap. Okay, and if you think about that, the whole cryptocurrency market cap, that's just about the worth of the present worth of Tesla. But when it started off this year, it's just worth about half the size of Apple. Okay, so if you're thinking about what this world is going into, this whole digital world, the virtual currencies, only worth one company. And if you look at the stock market cap among the top 500, the S&P 500, they call them, that is about 50 trillion market cap. So we are still very much at the early stage. Right now, we just touched about 3 trillion a few weeks ago. Now we're hovering over 2.7 trillion, and it's still very much young. And I do have, I do have a lot of colleagues and friends who are very well into this. In fact, doing it full time. They've turned it to a full-time job now because it's changed so many lives. And it's not just a joke, and that's what people need to understand. You need to understand what this currency is. And there's so many, it does actually, it has so many advantages. If I talk about a few things here, and that's why many banks are against it, okay? There's a lack of fraud because they're very transparent. The blockchain, what does it do? You do perform a transaction, and you cannot be faked. You cannot fake it. You can see end-to-end fulfillment. That's number one. There's no third party involved. So in this case, your Visa or your MasterCard or Stripe or whatever it is, or the bank whatsoever, they're not taking their cut. I remember my mentor, he sold a house in America, a couple of $100,000, and he was able to complete the transaction and get the money the same day. No Western Union or whatever brand is involved. He didn't have to pay any transaction to anybody. And it was within a lightning second like that. So it's solving so many problems. And we do expect the more education people get, the more it will go. And I do have so many speculations now. People, predicting the price of Bitcoin, which is the lead now, say it could go to, someone talking about 1 million in the next 3-5 years. And I will say that is actually very realistic. So by next year, 2022, the more people wake up to these things, the more people get education and more awareness. I see us hitting about 5 trillion because there's more adoption now. And yes, like I said, it does actually get volatile. We do have some downtime, but with more utility, I don't expect the downtime to be as bad anymore.
And for those who are just sitting on the fence, it's now time to wake up and smell the coffee and look at much as how to invest in terms of crypto assets. Let's look at the global crypto adoption index now. Nigeria also ranks top. You look at the likes of Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, as well as Tanzania. Do you see us maintaining a very strong footing as we continue into next year?
Absolutely, absolutely. What does the government do? The rules or the laws generally, how are they made? The laws are made by people's interests, okay? When the people are interested in something, you cannot stop that movement. And Bitcoin is something, or cryptocurrency generally, it's an idea that just can never be destroyed. Like I talked about inflation in Nigeria right now. I did say to someone, I said, if I owe you 100 naira in January, and if I give you 115, that's me giving you extra 15 naira in December, I still paid you less because inflation, I think I just checked it recently, as of yesterday, it was about 21%, going to 16% next year, forecasted. So which means you need the price of everything has gone up. When it comes to cryptocurrency, it cannot be faked. It's anti-inflation, so which means it is fixed. The Bitcoin has remained what it is, and the more people wake up, the more it will go. If you think about El Salvador, for example, as a country, they made Bitcoin a legal tender, literally within a few months. We've been talking about 5-6 months, And as a result of that, they've been able to build 20 schools from the proceeds, okay? That's number one. Another thing is, from the white paper of this Bitcoin when it was designed, it's algorithmically programmed to keep going up every 4 years. And that's what I tell people, a lot of people that I know. I'm sorry, I'm a crypto trader myself. It's not illegal in the UK. And one of the things that you need to understand is, if you hold Bitcoin, not even trading it at all, just hold it over 4 years, you will never lose. Sorry, 3.2 years, you will never lose money. It's programmed to go that way. So the world is adopting it. Just last week, the CEO of Apple, Tim Cook, he did confirm he does actually hold some of them. Elon Musk, the wealthiest man in the world, he does have some assets. So, and these big capital asset managers, they are holding it in their assets. So different countries are holding as well. China is buying in bulk. America is holding a lot more. The miners, they have it now. It's actually very legal to do this as a job. And I believe Nigeria should follow on track.
And talking about Nigeria falling in line, likely seeing better adoption and making it much more of a legal tender or not, let's look at the area of crypto trading in the country. Now, as part of the highlight of transactions we've seen this year, the Nigerian government still retains an unshakable stance: no trading of crypto with Naira accounts. However, Nigerians still make it work. Why do you think there's so much of a fuss about peer-to-peer transactions here? Is it enough to just follow the assumptions of illegalities? Some would also say, well, it's just because of the P2P nature. That would always be a concern.
I really do not understand why the government is worried about the citizens going through the P2P rules. Well, I mean, on the other hand, I did think about it. Maybe they think, you know what, the money is leaving the country, but the money still stays in Nigeria. In this instance, you're not sending money abroad or anything at all. Yes, you are supporting real value, world-changing experiments and projects. Not just experiments, you are supporting them. But at the same time, so how does P2P work? P2P is being designed in such a way that it's counter fraud. It just cannot be defrauded. So you want to make sure the other party has money in their wallet, okay? And whatever exchange or platform you are using, which I'm not going to mention anyone now, whatever platform you are using, immediately you initiate a transaction. They ensure the person has the money, and the money is locked down. Okay, so while you send the money to the other third party, then the money will be released to you in form of digital dollar, and that doesn't put any form of pressure at all on the eNaira. If at all, eNaira makes it easier for P2P to happen, and that's one own goal Nigerian government does not realize they've actually scored against themselves. And I've got to say, also, the message is quite mixed, because there's a few, there are a few videos going on from the second head of state, vice president, talking about the advent and the advantages of cryptocurrencies. But at the same time, there's another message going on about from the CBN, of course, protecting their show and talking about why or how you should not use it. Yes, so I tend to understand where they think it puts pressure on the Naira, but there's an already pressure on the Naira. If there's a pressure on the Naira, people will look elsewhere. But with the digital wallet, it does make P2P very easier. Instead of me sending cash right now, all I have to do is send a digital note to somebody else, and they just send me USDT, or sorry, send me a digital dollar, if I'm gonna say. So it doesn't put pressure on the Naira at all. Naira is already under pressure. I think we should rather focus our pressure on how to make sure we can ease the pressure on the Naira. And speaking of globally, Nigeria is one of the biggest adopters of cryptocurrency. We are one of the biggest developers out there, even though we're not getting involved in the fiscal development, but it's creating jobs. Most of this, like I said, 14,000 cryptocurrencies and counting are there out there. And more than half of them, the community leaders, the organizers, are Nigerians in terms of the project managing and ensuring this project go on well in reducing and calming fraud as well. So that's something Nigerian government needs to understand. It's all about education in this case.
And talking about education as well, and looking at how we have some sanity in the market now in terms of digital currencies, let's look at the eNaira from a different perspective. So in the narrative we've had, it had an initial crash and then a burn and then its resurgence back on platforms like Google Play Store. How do you see this reception really taking shape, easing transactions, redefining the digital currency space in Nigeria and leading the pack within the region, the West African region? How do you see it moving?
So it's very, very interesting that Nigeria did lead the way. And I've got to give kudos to the government in doing that. That's a job well done. And of course, it did crash. And how do projects do work? People initially object to it. Oh, no. And, there was a bits of confusion at some point. People thought, oh, this is similar to the cryptocurrency, but it's not. It's not, because it's actually backed by a naira, a physical naira in this case. That's number one. If you think about it again, on the other hand as well. So speaking of the e-naira, I mean, I live in the UK right here. The UK government, they're talking about the Bitcoin, and it's something they are thinking about looking into. Yes, they want to look into the Bitcoin, but it's a project for the next 3-5 years. So one, you could tell they are being strategic about their position. Let's see what other guys do. Crash and burn first. Let's learn from their mistakes. And of course, America, who are the big guys when you talk in the digital age. But China's got theirs, and I believe Nigeria didn't just start as a forefront. Nigeria's actually got a few data to collect and learn, and that's why they're rolling out. They're rolling it out gradually. They did say it's going to be a beta testing before we get out to the other world. So Nigeria is not the only country now. There's rolling out the CBDs, a central digital currency, CDC, sorry. But at the same time, we do have other countries now trying to follow. I literally read about Zimbabwe, thinking, you know what, we might just start taking the lead as well from the southern region, because we've seen Nigeria doing now. It's gradually going to get successful. And it did burn initially, of course, it did crash because people just thought they were confused. But the more you use it, you realize the ease. I mean, how do words go around sometimes? You tell people, you make them realize how easy it is for them. Yes, it has a lot of cost and advantages for the government in terms of transparency. You could literally trace every transaction. It limits fraud, and of course, more money in the coffers of the government. So once you see that, and people realize how easy it is to carry around, so literally, I could go anywhere in the world with my mobile phone and perform as much transaction as I want. Once people realize that, they see the advantages, I think more people will come on board. And that's something the government probably needs to start doing. Again, speaking of education and awareness. So we need to start talking about this money. You've got to spend this money and create awareness, recruit people out there, let them, encourage them. And I remember in the banks, when they were trying to go to digital wallets back in the days, many years ago now, you go into the bank, when you want to pay or while you get on the queue, you get one of these customer services approach you. Hi, Mr. Onifade, have you tried to do this? And once you try, you realize it works. I can't even remember the last time I went to the bank in the last 10 years. I can tell you I could count on one hand. And that's something the government needs to do. So it's all about education, awareness, and the people who have been doing it, been using it, you've got to tell your neighbors. It's actually good for you, good for the government, good for me as well as a whole. So that's where it goes.
Now, let's also wrap up our conversation now, looking at the prospect of other African countries, central banks also jumping fast in this bandwagon, quote unquote, of digital currencies. Really now, the role of research and observation is quite critical. But at what pace do you see other African countries jumping on this? We see this as one of the biggest global conversations we are having now. Central banks across the globe are developing their own digital currencies. How fast do you see other African countries joining Nigeria and Zimbabwe?
Oh God, I've got to say something. A few months ago, I remember speaking to the producer, and we're going to talk about a topic on cryptocurrency. He said, "Oh, we dare not mention this in air." I think it was about March, and now 8 months later, we here on national television, we're talking about cryptocurrency. So this is how fast things do go. So I can say, literally, I do see many more countries within the next 12 months jumping on the not just the bandwagon, jumping on it, adopting it gradually. And so, I mean, look at Zimbabwe. For you to buy a loaf of bread, you've got to go with a lot of money, whereby you have to get a wheelbarrow. They've been struggling, trying to get the dollar. And so they're going to go into it. A few weeks ago on one of your documentaries, I did say something about how it if you want to print the 10 naira note, it costs you about 10,000 naira just to print a 10 naira note. So you realize you're wasting resources, and that's one thing Africa has in abundance, but we cannot afford to waste it. And the world is moving away from that area. So I do see Africans jumping on it very well. It does actually protect our wealth, it builds wealth, and of course, it does encourage it does encourage the future, the blockchain technology adoption. I see many more Africans jumping on it. And in fact, I believe we should be at the forefront. So Nigeria is actually represented very well in that area with the eNaira. But in terms of digital currencies with other countries, African countries, I don't think they need to be propelled to do it. They will do it because they are listening and they are watching.
Thank you very much for your time on the show today, Benga. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. We've been speaking with Benga Onifade, Startup Manager at the Wealth Hackers.
Thanks for having me.